What's good, fam? We finally have the king of New York stepping out from the shadows to bury that weak conspiracy narrative Drake and his stands have been pushing for months. March 24th, 2026 marks the day the massive GQ cover story dropped, where Sean Carter himself finally addressed the war between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. He also cleared up all that Super Bowl 59 drama that had the internet in a total frenzy for the last year. For a long time, the OVO camp tried to act like some secret society or hidden industry cabal was out to get them, but Jay-Z just pulled the curtain back. He showed everyone that the only thing holding Drake back was his own lack of momentum. This interview serves as a total reality check because Hov does not do the petty back and forth on social media, and when he decides to break his silence, it carries the weight of the entire music industry. Every corporate boardroom from New York to Los Angeles is listening when he speaks. He told the world that the conspiracies were nothing more than fan fiction created by people who cannot handle the fact that Kendrick Lamar is the one holding the cultural crown. The most savage part of the whole thing was when he dropped that line about being F*** King Hov, which is a cold reminder that he is way too big to be playing small games. Plotting against an artist who is already struggling to keep his reputation intact is simply beneath him and his legacy. The Super Bowl discussion is where things really got heated because Jay-Z went into heavy detail about why Kendrick Lamar was the only logical choice for that stage in New Orleans. Back in February of 2025, fans were acting like Lil Wayne was being unfairly snubbed and Drake was being targeted by the Roc Nation machine. But Jay-Z made it clear that high-level business is about numbers and cultural impact. Participation trophies are not for friends in this league, and the choice was obvious based on the records and the actual cultural temperature at that moment. While Drake was busy dropping tracks that did not stick and trying to fight off serious allegations from every corner of the hip-hop world, Kendrick was breaking global streaming records and unifying the entire culture with a single performance. Jay-Z pointed out that when you look at the actual statistics and the audience engagement, there was absolutely nobody else who could have filled that halftime slot. Kendrick brought a level of authority and relevance that nobody else could match during that window. It was never about a personal diss toward Drake or even toward Lil Wayne, who everyone knows is a legend in his own right, but it was about who was the most impactful artist on the planet during that specific selection window. Drake fans love to talk about how Jay-Z has some kind of secret grudge or personal vendetta against the sixth god, but the truth is that Kendrick's audience stats were literally record-breaking. Drake was experiencing his first real commercial and critical decline in over a decade during that same period, and the math simply did not add up for him to be the headliner. Jay-Z used the specific phrase that it is not rocket science to explain the decision, which effectively marks the idea that there was some deep-seated plot or a room full of people trying to undermine the Canadian superstar. Kendrick had the entire world rapping along to every single word of his diss tracks and his massive hits while Drake was struggling to find a footing. It is actually hilarious to see the OVO camp try to spin this as some sort of corporate snub when the greatest businessman in the history of hip-hop is sitting there telling you that you just did not have the numbers. Your massive ego cannot change the facts of the situation. Drake spent the last year trying to play the victim in every song and every social media post, but Jay-Z just reminded everyone that the Super Bowl is the biggest stage in the world and you do not get there by complaining on Instagram or acting like a hurt child. You get there by dominating the culture through pure skill and timing, which is exactly what Kendrick did while Drake was busy falling apart in real time for everyone to see. Hovey broke it down by saying his job with the Super Bowl selection is about representing the whole culture rather than protecting the feelings of his friends. Standing 10 toes down on the choice, he argued that the records Kendrick put out were simply undeniable, and those songs deserved the biggest stage possible to celebrate where hip-hop stands today. This move basically kills the idea that Jay-Z was being petty or acting out of spite, because he is clearly focused on the legacy of the music instead of some small beef between two rappers. Drake keeps trying to act like he built the modern rap game, but Jay-Z just reminded him that the foundation of that house was built on actual merit. Kendrick is the one currently paying the rent and keeping the lights on in this industry, while Drake is just looking for someone to blame for his losses. The gap in maturity between these two is wild because Jay-Z is looking at the cold facts of who is actually moving the needle in the real world. It is obvious the OVO era of absolute dominance is finished when the man who shaped the modern industry says Kendrick was the only choice that made any sense. Jay-Z also mentioned that these massive production calls are made many months in advance, and they require a level of professional consistency that Drake has not shown lately. He stuck by the Roc Nation strategy and made it clear they are in the business of greatness instead of protecting fragile legacies or soothing the ego of an artist who lost a battle. Selecting Kendrick was a huge win for the fans who care about the art, and Jay-Z defending that move provides the ultimate validation for Kendrick's historic run. Drake can let his fans talk about conspiracies, but the man at the top of the food chain just told the world that Kendrick earned his spot through results. It is a tough pill for the Drake camp to swallow, but the truth is that Kendrick Lamar is currently the king of the mountain, while Drake is stuck in a mansion wondering where he went wrong. By the time Hall finished going through the stats, it was clear that Drake's excuses about the Super Bowl were just a distraction from the fact that he is no longer the main character. Before we dive into why Hall thinks these industry plot theories are a literal joke, tell me if y'all think Kendrick is really the king now, or if Drake is just being targeted. Drop your thoughts in the comments, no cap. While you at it, hit that like and subscribe button so we can get right back into how Jay-Z really feels about the boy. Jay-Z actually laughed out loud when the interviewer asked him about a supposed industry plot to take down the boy from Toronto. Using that legendary line about being F*** King Hov, he showed that a man with his wealth and legacy does not have time to play around in digital trenches. Drake has spent the last year acting like he is the target of some grand design, but Jay-Z pointed out that his business decisions are based on the global impact of the music. The idea that the most successful mogul in the game would need to coordinate a hit on an artist who is already self-destructing is actually embarrassing. Jay-Z sees these social media wars as a distraction from the goal of pushing hip-hop culture into new spaces where it can thrive as a business. Following the energy of the people instead of protecting one ego is how the Roc Nation strategy stays relevant. It is a massive difference in perspective, because while Drake is worrying about who is liking pictures on Instagram, Jay-Z is thinking about how to keep the culture relevant globally. The interview framed Drake's conspiracy talk as a coping mechanism for someone who cannot accept that the world has moved on from his specific brand of hits. Jay-Z does not need to be a villain in Drake's story because he is already the lead in a much bigger story involving ownership and power. If Drake was actually putting out the best music and moving the culture forward, Jay-Z would have been the first person to put him on that stage. The conversation turned into something much heavier when they started talking about how these diss tracks went after families and kids. Jay-Z kept it real by saying the beef crossed the line, and he sounded worried about how personal attacks are becoming the new normal for rap battles. Looking back at his 2001 clash with Nas, Hov reminded everyone that even the most legendary battles have moments that people regret later. He admitted he still feels bad about how he handled the personal side of that legendary conflict after reflecting on his track Super Ugly. A story about his mother calling him to say he went too far showed how he grew into a real man through that public apology. If you look at the tactics Drake is using right now, it is obvious he is stuck in the same kind of bullshit asterisk TJZ left behind 20 years ago. Drake is out here moving like a 20-year-old in a 37-year-old body. He is desperate to use gossip and family secrets to win a war he already lost on the charts. Faction wars create a permanent kind of hate that Jay-Z says hurts the culture and the artists in the long run. It seems like he is genuinely concerned that the younger generation thinks the only way to compete is to destroy a man's entire family and life. This critique carries a lot of weight because it comes from a legend who survived the fire. While the fans might think Drake being ruthless is a sign of strength, a real king like Hov sees it as a desperate move from someone lacking artistic substance. By comparing Drake's behavior to the mistakes he made 2 decades ago, Jay-Z is showing that the boy is moving backward. Having a lyrical battle over who is the best on the microphone is cool, but turning the whole culture into a toxic wasteland of personal attacks is a different story. Hip-hop growth is what Jay-Z wants to see most. He believes the current direction of these beefs will only lead to more division and less creativity. Using the N-ass parallel was basically his way of telling Drake to grow up. That bullshit asterisk T is going to be a permanent stain on his legacy for years to come. It was a cold moment that really highlighted how much the bar has dropped when it comes to how big stars handle their public disagreements. Hov is watching all of this from the penthouse while Drake is still down in the mud trying to throw dirt on people who are already standing on the moon. That massive contrast is exactly why Kendrick is the one taking the stage in New Orleans while Drake is still making excuses for his loss. Everything in this interview makes it clear that the industry is not out to get Drake. They are just tired of his games while everyone else is focused on the music. Jay-Z effectively shut down the entire debate when his interview confirmed that Kendrick Lamar stands as the undisputed face of hip-hop culture right now. Instead of just talking about personal preference or long friendships, the focus shifted to who possesses the actual power to move people in the real world today. While the boy is out here trying to convince the world that some secret society is plotting his downfall, Jay-Z proved what true dominance looks like by selling out his July 2026 Yankee Stadium shows in record time. Those stadium dates vanished instantly, and that represents the kind of massive success Drake is failing to see while he drowns in the fallout from this battle. The most brutal part of this situation is that Jay-Z never had to waste a second plotting against anyone because the statistics and the public reception handled all the heavy lifting. There is no way to argue with the math, and you definitely cannot step to the man who built the very structure you are leaning on for support. Drake is currently fighting ghosts and imaginary enemies, but the real legends are busy giving Kendrick his flowers and pushing the business forward without him. A clear message has been sent that the industry chose this winner based on who stuck to the art instead of getting lost in the petty gossip. This outcome is exactly what happens when you try to play chess with the person who owns the board and the building it sits in. Tell me your thoughts on how stepping in to kill that victim narrative once and for all. Let me know if you think the OVO fans are finally going to quit with the wild conspiracy theories now that the GOAT spoke, or if they will keep making excuses for why Drake lost his crown. Drop your thoughts in the comments. No cap. While you at it, like and subscribe to stay updated on the beef, because Kendrick really won this one, and even the big boss says it is obvious.